government procurement, end to end, will be on our e-platform.
So this is in line with the provisions of the Constitution, even before you come to the policy direction of the government. This is a major milestone.
This reform is the answer to it all.
Kenya is one of the fastest growing economies in the region, with one-of-a-kind innovation, mobile money. Kenya has always been ripe for innovation and digital revolution.
It's time that we move into the digital space. That's where the whole world is going anyway. Most of our services are now on a digital platform.
The need for government services to move from manual to digital is an idea whose time is long overdue. Since pre-independence, Kenya's government procurement has been done manually.
If I may take you back on the history of public procurement in the country, what I would call the working framework of public procurement goes back to pre-independence this country. The colonial government then was undertaking procurement, but through certain agencies which had been established. And one particular agent that had been established to undertake procurement then was what has all been known as crown agents. Upon the Kenya becoming independent, the government established various financial processes, and one of them was various directives on how procurement should be undertaken. And there were circulars which were issued from time to time by the then Minister for Finance. The first legal framework in terms of a framework governing public procurement in Kenya is an instrument called the then Regulations under the Audit and Exchequer Act of, should have been the year 2001. That governed the practice of public procurement, where it established various committees. There were committees to do with tender boards. Then come to the year 2003, and a new administration comes on board, and due to the urge that came in that the spending of government money was not, there was no transparency, it was not efficient, an act of parliament was enacted in the year 2005. And that is what then established the Public Procurement and Disposal Act of the year 2005, and there were regulations that came out in the year 2006. When you look back at why did we have to have a legal framework, of course it came out from the issues there was a lot of inefficiencies. And those inefficiencies resorted to what was taken to be the system was not fair, the system was not cost effective, there was no competition, and therefore a system had to be put in place which was to ensure that those guiding principles or principles which later were put in the 2010 Constitution of fairness, cost-effective transparency were enshrined in the legal framework. And with that, to ensure that there was transparency, all procurement contracts had to arise from a procurement budget, a budget to start with, then a procurement plan. Then that had to be translated, that there would have to be a tender document which was to be issued first. Then there was a requirement that must be advertised, depending on the threshold, in a national newspaper or national circulation newspaper, or in case of an international tender, in an international publication, to ensure that there was that transparency. Then there was the question, was the process going to be fair? The fairness was to be established by ensuring that there was standard tender documents. that which ensured that everyone who receives an invitation of procurement from government had to get a standard tender document. And the then body which was established to ensure that there is monitoring, review, and assessment was what was called Public Procurement Oversight Authority. And with that, it ensured that there is compliance in the space of public procurement. Until now, after the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution, the new Act, or the 2015 Act of Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act, came into place.
So with this legal framework of Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act, of course, the law has provided that use of ICT in procurement of goods and services can be carried out. But largely, over the last 8 years or so, since the enactment of this legislation, our processes have been largely manual, where opportunities, once advertised, whoever is eligible for it has to come to the procuring entity to collect the bidding documents, the tender documents. So they come, whether if you are coming in from, for example, from about 200-300 kilometers from Nairobi, and if the PE is in Nairobi, so you have to come all the way to Nairobi. That's an expenditure on your part. Come and collect the documents which have been prepared by the procuring entity, whether it's 300-400 reams of pages of paper. You have to collect those documents. You have to go back. Of course, most documentations, tender documentations, require some supporting document. Upon doing all these things, now you have to resubmit the bid documents. All that travel to back and forth, you have to bring it to the procuring entities. Not to mention the volumes of papers that you have to, get it bonded together. You submit it, and then you wait for the appointed time where the bids documents have to be open. It is a requirement, there's a pressure as an issue of transparency that you witness the opening of the bids. Upon witnessing that, of course, the next stage would be evaluation of the bids. And all these things are done manually. The team has to probably take some days off to lock themselves in some particular place and evaluate the bids. Evaluation of the bids. The next stage is, of course, sending out the notices to the successful and the successful persons. Hitherto, it is done manually. Perhaps the most we have done is by way of email, scan and send them by email. And then, of course, then contract negotiation and subsequent contract signing of the contract to the successful bidder.
Most of the tenders are done manually, and when the tenders are floated to the newspapers, one has to go by the tender documents from the procuring entity, and in so doing you have also to involve a lot of other people to help you in the putting the documentations together. And once you've done with the documentations, you also have to deliver the same physically. And you find that most of these jobs happen outside the region where I come from. Mostly go to Nairobi, Mombasa, to some of these other big towns. So you'll find the logistics aspect of it is a bit time consuming and also is costly. So in so doing, you might find that you've delivered your tender documents. When you reach at the procurement entity, most incidents you'll find that there are so many people who get involved in this process. You'll go find even the tender box where you are supposed to deliver or drop your tender documents is sometimes filled up. You are just showing an office or somewhere to drop your documents. And in so doing, maybe like in my case, I'm coming from the western part of Kenya, I've come to Nairobi, and I'm in a hurry also to go back. So I'll not have the time to participate in the tender opening, to see how I fare up, and even to tell whether my documents do actually get to the list of opening.
Kuna wakati nilikuwa nimejaribu kufanya tender mimi mwenyewe niko kwa ile category yenye mimi nafurahia, yenye nafanya sana ya event management. Baadaye after the results, after two months down the line, napata nimewekwa kwa pre-qualified ya food, dry food. So when I followed up, nikarudi kwa ofisi kuambia nimepata lakini sijaridhika na uamuzi. Procurement manager akasema nimpe muda aende through, angalie kweli kama ni whatever I'm speaking is the truth. Kweli akaangalia akapata ni kweli nilifanya events lakini nimepewa kwa dry food. Sasa nikamuuliza itakuaje? Hii ndio kazi mimi nimezoea. Akaniambia nimpe muda watabadilisha. Of which for me nisikia
The manual tendering process meant high administration costs in printing, copying, and binding volumes of tender documents. Not to mention the long and tedious tender processing. Government tenders in Kenya used to mean this: about 35,000 shillings per bid, 30 days of processing, and only 15 or less % success rate.
In the manual process of procurement, you are having papers that have to be used. In certain cases, people complain of pages in tender documents missing or being introduced way after the tendering process has closed.
It's a slow system. It's not as open. It's not as transparent.
It is cumbersome. Too much paperwork. Storage, in terms of storage, in terms of migration, it must move from one office to another. Maybe by the time it's getting back to office 4, some other document went missing and you have to restart the process again.
That has been a little bit difficult, especially in terms of oversight.
One of the key pillars of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda is creating a digital superhighway. With about 19,000 government services digitized and many more to follow, a new dawn is rising in Kenya.
This process began following the address, the directive by His Excellency the President in his national address that was done on 24th November 2024 to the National Treasury, where he directed the National Treasury to roll out the EGP system that is to be adopted in government.
The aim of this measure is to provide an open and transparent public procurement platform which gives open, real-time, and end-to-end public visibility of public procurement from advertisement to award of contract, and to whom it is awarded and what amount the people of Kenya will pay.
So this is in line with the provisions of the Constitution, even before you come to the policy direction of the government, which again, among the 5 pillars of the better principle, one of them is the digital superhighway and inclusivity in the economy. And this is one way of actualizing, making sure that the government walks the talk, that the government that committed itself in bringing technology in its activities and operations actually leads by example in demonstrating that the procurement is onboarded and is digitized.
We have a two-phased approach towards developing the EGP system, an end-to-end system. And we had phase 1 modules, phase 1 approach of the development, which involved developing 16 modules. And all these modules, first of all, the development, this system is aligned to the legal framework that, PEs have to follow, step-by-step procedure within which PEs have to follow when carrying out public procurement. So we have had 2 phases of development, phase 1 development and phase 2 development. Phase 1 development are the initial, procurement processes, right from procurement planning, tender submission, supplier registration, PE registration, all the way to contract management. Phase 2 modules include subsequent activities on procurement, including appeals. I mentioned about if you are dissatisfied with a process, there should be a mechanism within which you can appeal. And this EGP system provides for online appeal if in the event you are dissatisfied with the procurement process.
We have completed the modules that are necessary for procuring entities to undertake procurement processes. This includes starting from the registration. We have registration already in the EGP system. We have a procurement plan. So all these other processes that include liquidation, tender preparation, tender submission, evaluation, tender award, and also contract management are already in the EGP system. This includes the phase 1 modules of the EGP system. Phase 2 module, we are looking at enhancing now the system to other modules that support the procurement processes. These include like compliance, debarment, procurement appeals.
So we have adopted several training methodologies. One of them is the use of TOTs. Those are trainers of trainers. So we have selected staff members from different ministries and state departments whom we have trained. And these staff members have been given in-depth training on the EGP system and its functionalities. And they will be able to go out and train their other colleagues in the various ministries and state departments on how to use this system, as well as in the counties also.
EGP ni online na sana sana vitu za online i-capture data ni real time data. Hiyo inamaanisha kama tuseme kama TCC iko valid, inaonyesha iko valid. Nafikiri hata kuwa na jambo kama hilo lenye nilipitia.
It is something that is good because it can be taken at the comfort of one's desk. You can do everything at wherever you are, and the hassle of moving from point A to B will not be there. And I'll know whether I'm performing in terms of submissions, whether my quotations are in line with what others, because you get to know how other people are faring up, and then you can try to be competitive enough now to get these businesses.
Everything is in one. You need to apply for tender security, you apply it through the system. So authentication, it just sit. You apply to be shared through the bank, it gets uploaded on your portal, you submit it with the tender document. You fill all the tender forms in the platform, so you don't have to print, you don't have to sign, everything is in your portal. So I found it very efficient. EGP is going to broaden my spectrum of clientele in that I'll be able to get more quotations or even access to tender documentation or opportunities through the system. The other component I can think of is transparency. There will be transparency because now everything is system generated, whereby I as a vendor will be required to adhere to specific requirements, and so is also the national government is also have to adhere to the same requirements that to ensure that it is a transparent process altogether.
From my procuring entity also will come to the window of the supplier, so you can see what is on what is available. I think that transparency is what we need, and then more importantly, accountability. Everybody is more accountable. So transparency, efficiency, and accountability is what is going to come out of here. More importantly, I expect now, me as PS Treasury, that this will help us to streamline public expenditure on procurement. We have done some studies before with the support of World Bank and found out that about 60% of our annual budget is what is procured. So if we use this year's budget of 4.2 trillion for the fiscal year of 2025-26, we expect about 2.5 trillion to be the budget for items to be procured. And the studies I've seen is that we expect through this e-procurement to save between 10 and 15% of the procurement budget through this by going just digital or going for electronic procurement. So if you calculate, that gives us almost between 250 to 300 billion shillings savings. That's a lot of money to give to our children to go back to school, to expand classes, or to give more bursaries to our students in the universities, or to build roads or other social requirements. So I think, in a nutshell, I want to say this is a major milestone.
Government tendering or government tender accounts for almost 26% of the GDP. So it is very crucial, and it is a process that has, I would say, impact to the economy in one of the way, because if it's not done properly, then the people who produce certain items locally, who create jobs locally, who pay taxes locally, may not benefit. But if we move to digitization, then there is a guarantee of benefit for these people who have invested, are manufacturing products locally. You can trace the manufacturing products they do locally, and so the economy and the country will largely benefit by tendering and through the system locally.
The President, His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, gave a directive that beginning 1st July 2025, all government procurement will be carried out on the Electronic Government Procurement, EGP.
Beginning 1st of July, all government procurement, end to end, will be on our e-platform. It is not a request. It is not a request.
It is a game changer for us, and we are embracing it wholeheartedly.
Hii story ya e-procurement ni story fiti. From experience, because mavijana wengi wanapatikana huko. Mavijana wengi waliacha historia ya makaratasi kitambo sana bwana. So ukileta kitu ambayo inahusiana na the digital space, that's where you find them. So kama State Department ya Youth, hii ni kitu tume-embrace na kitu pia tume-encourage.
By 1st of July, we are going paperless. So they should remember, even those who are supplying now, they should onboard. Otherwise, even payment will become difficult.
It's a very simple process. Enroll yourself with all your KYC on the system. Familiarize yourself. In case you have any difficulties, engage with our procurement staff or any of our contact within, Huduma centers, so that you're actually empowered, you know what the process is, and so that you're ready to actually transact and work with the government.
To my colleagues who are accounting officers or senior government officials, that we need to embrace this initiative by working closely with the team at Treasury for the realization of the full implementation of the e-procurement process.
Therefore, we will all be able to sit on the table at the end of the financial year and ask ourselves, have we achieved as government? And the general public, have you been able, are you satisfied with the way government has been able to serve you?
It's a call to even encourage the youth who are in this kind of space, kwamba hii system imefanywa kuwa simplified kwa benefit nyinyi. Ndio maana nimesema ni process ambayo ina kuweka platform ambapo hakuna supplier mkubwa, hakuna supplier mdogo, wote wako na common platform ya kubenefit, kwa sababu hii tumesema ina guarantee transparency na pia accountability.
This is a system that we need to embrace. It should have come long time ago, but we are happy now that our government is focused on this.
This has brought a lot of confidence to us, and my clarion call is to everyone to register to the system. Your products, list your products, list what you do, so that when it comes to bidding, you are one of the first people to be considered.
This is the opportunity to access public tenders transparently, fairly, and conveniently. The future of doing business with the government is digital.
So I'm calling the public to support this process, because for sure this is going to bring value for money, for your money, because you are a taxpayer. And you always say you want your tax to be put or used appropriately. Moving to e-procurement will be a sure way of ensuring that whatever we procure is procured where we have value for money, and that corruption is eliminated.
The government is committed into actualizing, putting into action the promises that were made, especially on digitizing the government operations.